Hey, I'm Ava Laura.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Black Leave America podcast, where we highlight holistic wellness, travel, mental health, and self-care through traveling outside of America to reconnect and rediscover who you are. It's time for us to leave any condition that disrupts our peace. Black Women Leave America opens your eyes and explores new ways of living, but more importantly, new ways of being. Because sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. Hey everyone, welcome. This is Black Women Leave America podcast, the live edition. And I don't know, Jessica, but I felt in my soul, it is time to leave any condition that disrupts my peace. That just hit me a little different today. So
why? Wait, why? Why do you feel like it hit you different today?
I am in that space in my life where it's just all about peace. And if it's not peace, like if it doesn't feel good, I'm just not doing it. And, we play this every week, but today that just hit me. I was like, oh, yes. Why am I putting up with anything that doesn't make me happy, that doesn't bring peace, that doesn't fulfill me? Like, why? So I don't know. I just had to share that.
I love it.
If you don't know who we are, I am Ava Laura, and this is my amazing co-host.
How now, Jessica? I ain't gonna take the second part. Jessica, and I am super excited to chat and to look at and react to these videos.
Yes. So we're doing one of our favorite things. You all love it. We love it. So we are just reacting to videos about fellow Black women who have lived or extensively traveled abroad. I have not watched either of these, so this is authentic reactions. We don't know what is going to be said. Also, again, if you are listening on the podcast, come on over and join us on YouTube so you can actually see the videos for yourself.
Okay, so without further ado, let's go and hop to the first one.
I decided to return to a 9-to-5 job after being a full-time digital content creator. I honestly feel like this is not talked about enough because I know for so many people, the dream is to leave behind your corporate job, leave behind your 9-to-5, and create content full-time, forever, hopefully. But what about those of us who got to live the dream but decided to go back? So I recently moved back to the US after living abroad in London for 4.5 years. And while I was there, I was a full-time YouTuber. So I was vlogging about my life abroad and uploading pretty much weekly. Living abroad was an amazing experience, y'all. But after a while, I started to realize, I can't talk about this forever. I was starting to feel a bit bored and burnt out from sharing my day-to-day life, because not every day was super interesting. And I started to feel like I was living to make content, like everything had to be content. And with my content being so focused on my personal life and sharing my day-to-day, it became really difficult, y'all, because I wasn't always mentally in the space to create content about my life. I dealt with a lot of challenges while I lived abroad. And if I wasn't in the place to create content, that also meant I wasn't in a place to make money. So it was starting to become an issue. I originally went to London to study for my master's degree and ended up staying way longer than I ever expected. But since the beginning, I had always told myself, if this ever stops making sense, I'm going back to work. I'm going back to a 9-to-5, okay? I got 2 degrees. And after turning 30, I really just started craving a stronger sense of stability. I wanted to start contributing to a 401k again. I wanted to start saving money again. Now my story is not going to be the same for everyone. People have different niches, right? My niche was my life abroad, and I knew that my life wasn't always going to be that. For some other people, you may never get burnt out because of maybe the topic that you're focusing on. But because my content was so dependent on my life, I just knew it was not sustainable for me as a career long term. Now, don't get me wrong, I will always love creating content. I mean, that's why I'm here right now talking to you. But now, since I started my corporate job, I feel so relieved, y'all. It's like a weight is lifted off of my shoulders because I know that my livelihood is no longer dependent on me creating content. I can actually create content for fun now because I feel like it, because I enjoy it, you know? And I'll be honest, like at one point I had some thoughts swirling around in my head and I'm like, what if people think I'm a failure? What if they think I failed at entrepreneurship? Who cares? Okay? Who cares? It is perfectly okay to pivot. It's okay to change paths. Like, it's okay to do what makes the most sense for you and your life and your goals at that time. So if right now is your time to leave your 9 to 5 and try out self-employment, amazing. If you are currently self-employed and you're starting to feel, stress and pressure and you're thinking, maybe I would feel a lot more at peace if I went back to a 9 to 5, that's okay too. For me, at the end of the day, my peace of mind is the most important thing. And that's what I'm always going to choose first.
How about that? My intuition, boy. Let me tell you something.
Right in
My
alignment with what
intuition
we
is
were just
on
talking
it.
about.
I did not watch that video. I did not know what that woman was going to say. And here she is talking about she made this big change because of her peace of mind. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I think this is a really interesting topic. I wasn't sure where she was going at first. I'm like, what is she talking about? And how does this relate to her actually, living abroad? Wow. But so it's almost like she did things in reverse. You know what I mean? She did things in reverse. Like most of the women that we interview, my personal experiences, most of the women I'm sure who watch this are working a 9 to 5 or have worked in corporate and are now looking for a change for their peace of mind. So it's almost like she did it in reverse. I think she said she just turned 30, so she's younger, right? And so in her 20s, she got her master's degree, was living in London, living her best life, decided she was going to be a YouTube creator, right? And make her money that way. And then all of a sudden said, you know what? I want to be an adult. You know what I mean? I want to start adulting. I want to get a 401k. I want stability. So all the things that, you don't necessarily feel when you're an entrepreneur. She decided to do it in reverse. And you know what? And guess what? Like that's okay too. Like it's all okay. It's about doing what's best for you. So I think it's really interesting. I have a lot to say about this, but Jessica, I want to hear your thoughts.
No, I just, as I try not to move too much so my internet doesn't mess me up. Uh, I think for her, to your point, I didn't know where she was going to go with this because I listened to a couple of seconds of it. And I just heard that she lived abroad. I'm like, okay, it qualifies to be on the show, right? And I didn't watch the rest of it. But then once she gets into it, it's like, that makes sense. But then she's right, right? I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, girl, you're creating content right now. And she kind of turned around and said, now I can just do it out of fun, not necessarily necessity.
Yeah.
I think that for a lot of folks, we do kind of get into these things and we kind of feel like, oh, to her point, I'm a failure if I go back to work. Look, you working for somebody. You either working for your clients or you're working for a corporation, but you're working for somebody. Either way, go. So it really just is up to you what capacity you want to do that in and how you want to show up, right? To her point of just saying, like, I just had to do something where I just felt like, okay, I don't have to, but it's like now instead of showing up for your content, you got to show up for a job. So,
Girl, it's always something.
it's always
It's you kind of have to, pick your poison, so to speak,
right,
right?
right.
Decide what it is that you are going to put up with because it's going to be something. So what is it that you're willing to deal with?
Right. And that was the
And
point I was
she
making.
said,
Like,
you know what? I want my 401k. So therefore, I'm willing to deal with having to get up and go to work in the morning. And I don't know what she does, right? But possibly do things that maybe I don't care about or I don't want to do or I'm not passionate about for the stability.
right. Right.
And that's
I
okay. Like, it's sometimes we have to make those choices.
Yeah, it's a give and take, right? It's like some things you have to just kind of give and be like, you know what? I'm getting what I need in return, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do. So yeah, I can relate though. It gets, especially right now, these digital streets are a bit of rough. I
I
mean,
mean, ooh, it's so much. First of all, my first thought was, here's the thing that I tell all of my clients. And so, those of you all watching, I want you to really get this. Not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. I know that is like fashionable right now. I know everybody's talking about it. Live your best life. I want to be free. And so everybody wants the benefits of being an entrepreneur, but don't want to do the work. And being an entrepreneur is work. Even if you're not hustling, right? Because a lot of us now, our team, no hustling. We done let go of the team no sleep, right? Because we realize that don't make no sense. So we got to take care of ourselves. Self-care is mandatory, right? There is still a level of output and energy to get momentum in your business. Whether you want to call that hustling, whether that's working more than 40 hours a week, whatever that looks like to you, it's work. And it's measurable work, because it's not like working a 9 to 5 where you could literally work a 9 to 5 and get paid and do no production. There are jobs like that, right? I used to work for the government. I know, I have seen it. And so you are just there taking up space, getting a paycheck, and you're not really doing anything. But when you are an entrepreneur, you have to produce in order to make money. Now, you can get passive income, right? Everybody's talking about passive income, but you still got to do something to create that passive income. It don't just happen. So there's still a production, there's still a level of energy output in order to get to that place where you can now get passive income. So you have to be up for that. Like, you got to be up for that. And if you're not, keep your 9 to 5. Keep your 9 to 5. Don't come out here. Because, like Jessica said, whoo, it'd be brutal, especially now that everybody thinks they can be an entrepreneur. There's so much noise. There's so many people out here claiming to do this and that and the other. I mean, Jessica, how many people are content creators now and digital marketers when you've been doing this for years?
I,
Everybody now. Like,
listen,
everybody.
everybody. I just got off a call with someone, and I'm like, a couple of days ago, and I'm just like, you should not be doing social media management. That's just not, it's not your that space. But a lot of people just think this game is so easy. Like, all I got to do is post. No, there's so much more than that. So yeah, I'm not going to get on the soapbox. I'm going to leave it alone. But yeah, when you get into content creation, it is, to your point, it is a job.
It does not end.
And if you
It
ain't
does
ready to put it
not
out
end. You
there,
always have to produce content. Whether it's coming from you or whether it's coming from
somebody
somebody
else,
else, somebody got to produce it.
somebody else is coming from
So
somewhere. And
you're
the
going to
thing,
have to do it, or you're going to have to pay somebody to do it. But somehow it's going to have to get done.
girl, and I've spoken to folks too that have been like, well, I don't really like to sell. I don't really like to. I said, well, you need to get a job. You need to go back to work. This ain't for you.
And that's not failure.
It's not failure.
That's just reality. Like, you know yourself. Know
Right.
yourself. Know where you are at this point in your life
Facts.
and act accordingly.
Right.
And it's okay. And if you
Mhm.
need help with that, listen, that is what I do. Holla. I just, wrote a self-love journal. Girl, get your effing life. I will help you to get your life together, because it's necessary. Like, if you really are looking at living abroad, you need to know these things, because you do want to know how you're going to support yourself. So if
Right.
you're going to keep your 9 to 5 and you have to stay wherever you are, then obviously you're not going to be able to move abroad doing that. If you really want to move abroad, this is something that you want to do, and you do want to let go of that 9 to 5, then you really have to think of how are you going to support yourself? Are you going
Facts.
to build up enough income and wait for retirement? Because I know people who do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wait for
Right.
retirement, collect their
Mm-hmm.
401k, they collect all of their social security, whatever, and they move abroad and they have a very comfortable life. Are you going to change your career? Are you going to become an entrepreneur? Because guess what? You do have options. You don't have to become an entrepreneur to live abroad. I think that's a misnomer. Like everybody feels like, well, if I'm living abroad, then I have to actually run my own business. You don't. There are other options. You can get other jobs and still live abroad. So you need to know that. Are you an entrepreneur? Do you want to be an entrepreneur or do you want to have a job?
But I think this is a great conversation around just like you said, right? Just living a life of peace and understanding that you have that power. I was just talking to one of my kids yesterday about choices. You
Yes.
always have a choice, and you can choose to live in darkness and say, "Woe is me," and no, 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 and but guess what? You only gonna be there a short time because life is only but so long. Is that really how you want to spend your existence on this earth? But if you go towards the light, then you can see. When you're in that darkness, you
Mm,
can't see your way out. You want to be
mm,
there, or you want to live in light and be in happiness and in positivity and radiate that, because it all depends on your energy and your choice.
yes.
So how you look at it is how you get it.
Yeah. And and I think ultimately, like, right, when we talk about moving abroad and Black women leaving America, it is a choice, right? It's a choice, it's freedom. It's doing it because you really want to do it. It's doing it because you feel like this is going to add value to your life because you're tired of the hustle and grinding and you want a different life for yourself. It's not because somebody made you do it. It's not because you had to do it. It's because you feel like this is really going to add value to your life. And if you're at that place where you feel like it no longer adds value to your life, you can leave again. Because how
Leave.
many of you, right, have lived abroad for an extensive amount of time or traveled abroad extensively, and then you feel like, well, if you come home, people are going to be like, oh, well, why are you back? You know what? You're a failure. You gave up. You were living over here and we watching you on YouTube and we watching you on Instagram and you looking fabulous and all of a sudden you coming back home. And so now you don't want to come home because you feel like, oh, well, maybe I'm a failure. Maybe I messed up. Maybe people are going to look at me a certain way. So I just got to stay there and rough it, even though honestly, I'm tired and I'm burnt out. This is all about living life on your own terms and doing what's best for you. And if that's moving abroad, do that. If you're in a place living abroad that you're not happy, move.
Right.
But
All
it
right.
ultimately is your choice. It is about living on your terms.
All right. You guys know where to find her. It's avalora.com and Ava Laura on YouTube and TikTok. I got your girl on
Listen,
TikTok.
get your girl live your effing life journal. Okay, we're gonna put the link in there.
Oh yeah,
I'm
put
really
the link
proud
in
of
there.
it because not everybody's gonna be able to work with me. I can't work with everybody, but I put my heart and soul in this journal because it's like working with a coach. It's a
Right.
guided journal. So the questions that I'm asking you, the reflections, just the time, the self-awareness that you'll get from this, I think is really vital and is important. And when you're making a decision like this, you want to be very self-aware. You want to reflect. You don't just want to make this decision. You want to take your time with it. Doesn't mean it's got to take forever, but it just means that you want to sit with it and you want to make sure that you're making the best possible choice for you in that moment.
Awesome. So you guys check out the links in the description of this video. Let's go to move to our next one.
There, then like there's a reset.
Right.
Are y'all ready
That's
for the
fair.
list? Mexico City,
Mex-
Merida, Mexico.
huh? Hold on.
Merida.
Let's slow that
Let me
down.
let me say en gringo. Merida, Mexico. Panama City, Panama, Costa Rica. So
Okay.
there's a city called Puerto Viejo, and we have Colombia. So there's Cartagena and Medellin. Lisbon or Lisboa.
Lisbon.
UAE, so Dubai.
Dubai.
And then we have Accra, Ghana,
Accra.
Oli, and Thailand.
Can we run through that list again? Because she went through kind of quickly.
Yep, we sure can.
So this is where the largest communities of Black people from the United States are living abroad. The
Right.
largest expat communities abroad. That's what she's listing here.
All right, let's go ahead and run through it one more time.
So it's like, where are the most Black expat communities, the largest Black expat communities? Because clearly, like, if there's a lot of people there, then like there's a reason.
Right.
Are y'all ready for the list? Mexico City, Merida, Mexico.
Huh?
Merida.
Let's slow that down.
Let me say it in gringo. Merida, Mexico. Panama City, Panama, Costa Rica. So there's a city called Puerto Viejo. And we have Colombia. So there's Cartagena and Medellin. Lisbon or Lisboa. UAE, so Dubai.
Dubai.
And then we have Accra, Ghana,
Accra.
Oli, and Thailand.
So there you have it. So if you are looking to move abroad and you like, where are all the Black people? Where should I start? Right? Where should I look? That's a really good list for you to start from, because you're by yourself. Your community is going to be there. A lot of the women that we've interviewed, some of them, it's so funny. They just said, I wanted to be somewhere warm. It's so interesting how many of them come from the area I live in, the DC area, probably because it's so expensive here. They're like, I just want to be somewhere warm. And they literally just Googled, like places with warm climates. And that's kind of where they went. So sometimes it was really rather random. But if you want to be a little bit more strategic, where you want to look at where other Black people live, where you're going to have community, where you're going to have support, I think that's a great list to start from and look into, and making sure that it has all the elements that you need, and whatever that might be. You have to identify like what's important for you when you're moving. But what I did find interesting, she said Mexico City. She didn't say the Cancun area, and we've interviewed like a lot of people who are in what's the name of it? Not Cancun, but the other Carmen de Playa. So I was kind of surprised she didn't say
Carmen
that.
del Playa? Is it Del Playa?
Yeah, Playa. It's yep, that's it. So I was surprised at that, because I didn't know that there were more Black people in the Mexico City area. But you see, they're all like tropical climates, like that's where we want to be.
Yeah. And we passed up Playa del Carmen. We passed up. There's another one too. What was the other city in Mexico that a lot of folks? Because every time the guy would say it over the loudspeaker, we were on the bus, I was like, "Oh, Black people are there. There's Black people over there." Because we had so many.
Not
women.
Tulum. Like we interviewed.
Yeah,
people in
Tulum.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Tulum was it. And so I was like, there's Black people over here. And it's so funny. I have footage of Mexico when I went. So we'll plan to show some of that. Just being on the bus and just kind of seeing the city itself. So we need to plan that, make sure we put that on wax so we actually do it.
Okay.
But yeah, and I did it on purpose because I knew we could come back and show you guys on the podcast and kind of talk a little bit about it. But it's like literally just like being home. Like I did not feel any different aside from the foreigners that were looking at us crazy because there was a group of 9 Black people together and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And that was not
and we gonna talk about that, but
that was not the locals, by the way. That was folks from other places. So next podcast in the future, we talk about that a little bit. Y'all let us know down in the comment section if you want to hear the tea on that one. But it was just like, McDonald's was on the corner. I wanted the guy to stop at McDonald's, and he was like, "It's late, ma'am." Lamb is like, he was like, "Girl, you better not stop out here. You better go to get to your hotel." I'm like, "Sir, L McDonald's."
She said L McDonald's. I won't eat McDonald's at home.
Nah.
Let alone another country.
Oh, my kids were like, "Mom."
That's funny.
I'm like, what? I'm gonna be me wherever I go. Sorry, I'm gonna
as
be
you
me
should be. As you should be.
Now I do need to adjust. Now I do know I can go back to crazy in Dubai. I heard enough stories to where I know I'm tapered down in Dubai and be like, okay, let's check the room,
Well,
fill the room.
obviously know the rules. Like that
Right,
that's what again, right? You know, if somebody's coming into your home, you want them to respect your rules.
right.
That if they got to come in and you don't wear shoes in your home, you want them to take off thear shoes when they come in
Yes.
your home.
Yeah, yep,
It's the same thing.
yep,
Just know the rules.
yep.
That's all.
So,
Um, Now here's what's interesting, and here's what I'm hearing. And for you all watching, definitely want to hear from you. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you're interested in living abroad and where you've looked at, and where you're interested in living.
hmm
What I am hearing from a lot of expats is that when it becomes a really large expat community, we start to drive up the prices. So I've been hearing this in parts of Mexico, and I think it's in the Carmen de Playa area. So like rental properties and things like that start to get more expensive because there's more expat communities, and not necessarily black expats, but just expats in general, right? There's more people, there's more demand, just like anywhere else, supply and demand. And so if there's an increase in demand, then now we can raise the prices, versus when there's not that demand, the prices tend to be lower. So that is something to look for, that sometimes, depending on the extent of the community, again, I'm not just talking about black expats, I'm talking about just expats in general. In the supply, sometimes the prices are now going to go up. And if you're looking to move abroad for a lower cost of living, you want to be mindful of that. Like, because not all of these places are lower cost of living, right?
right.
Dubai, not necessarily a lower cost of living, right? We had a show where we did a reaction video for a woman. She was paying what, 6,000 a month or something, which I was just like, my God,
Crazy, crazy.
I'm not trying to pay that here, let alone somewhere else. So that's something to, that you really want to look into.
Right, right. So you guys, once again, we'll go ahead and we will list the different cities that she put on this video. I'll go ahead and put those in the description down below. But please let us know what you thought of this episode of Black Women Leave America. We do try to keep these episodes under 30 minutes. My first choice is Lisbon. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lisbon is high. I've heard a lot of good things about Lisbon. Started researching Thailand and Malaysia. Definitely check out our previous interviews. We haven't interviewed, we got to find somebody in Lisbon. We haven't
Yeah.
interviewed anybody in Lisbon, but we
Mhm.
have interviewed a few women who actually did live in Thailand at the time that we interviewed them. And I'm saying that
Right,
because they've since moved.
right.
But at the time that we interviewed them, they were in Thailand and loved it. Definitely cost of living in Thailand is amazing. We haven't
hmm
talked to anybody in Malaysia, but I know Malaysia and Thailand, the culture is pretty similar. I think the
hmm
cost of living is pretty similar as well. So definitely a good option if you want to, save money. Also, if you want to become really healthy, like Thailand
Right.
is a good area for that as well.
Yeah, and let us
Yeah,
know
so
down in the comment
definitely check
section.
out our previous episodes.
Yes, check it out, and let us know down in the comment section of this video, or if you are listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, make sure you go ahead and hop on over to our comment section on this video, or you can go ahead and email us at blackwomenleaveamerica@gmail.com. I'd like to know from you all if you think a guide would be good for you. Do you feel like a guide to the most popular places where Black people are, Black communities are, would that be helpful, right? Just identifying what those places are and then possibly some
Mhm.
ways to navigate it. Because I think there's a lot of folks that are doing a lot of research. I know we have a couple of different contacts we can reach out to help and contribute to that.
Several.
Okay, she said yes, please. Okay. Okay, then we'll go ahead and start working on something like that for you all. And then we will place that link in the video once we get it ready and get it going.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's important. And I think that, that's why I love this podcast and, all the amazing women that we've interviewed and shared their stories because, we should be able to learn from each other. None of us should have to recreate the wheel. If you've experienced it, share your story so that others can benefit from your story and know what to do and know what not to do. Right, so we can alleviate some of it. So yeah, so I'm all for learning through other people's experiences. That's why I think coaching is so important. Like in anything that you're trying to do and be successful, get a coach who is an expert in it, who's done it, and is an expert, so you can learn from that experience, so you don't have to repeat the mistakes, so that you can have success faster. Because I do think that some of the people, and we're gonna do another episode, I don't know if next week or maybe the week after or so, of there's a woman who is talking about the growing pains, right, that she's having living abroad. So we're going to share that with you on an upcoming episode. And I think it's important. I think that happens sometimes, honestly, because people don't do enough research. They get the idea, oh, I want to do this because it's on trend, right? Like everybody's doing it, and they don't necessarily really know what they're getting into. And so now there's growing pains, just because they didn't have enough information. And growing pains are okay. You're going to have growing pains in anything, right? And you certainly don't want to be in a place where you try to do so much that you just never leave. Right. You don't want to do that either, but just making sure that you try to learn as much as you possibly can. Try to be as informed as you can be. Right. And also understand that too, you have the right to pivot, when you get somewhere, if it's not what you thought it was going to be or not what you wanted it to be, just being flexible enough to do that.
This has been another episode of Black Women Leave America. I feel like we should have some outro music like Oprah. But anyway.
We probably should.
Remember Oprah's old school
no,
show?
You were trying to make it for us, apparently. even with the cold. She has a cold, y'all, and she over here trying to sing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Look, I'm all nasal, right? I am all. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Black Women Leave America, and I'm going to hand it back over to you since I have nasal pressure right now.
If you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, put it in the comments. Again, we do check them even after this episode. You check in the replay. Let us know. Go ahead and subscribe. You want to sponsor an episode or 2 or 3, contact us. Let us know. We would love to have you and feature your business. And yeah, we just look forward to seeing you next time, probably on our regular day on Thursday. We'll be back next week on Thursday. But until then, we're wishing you all peace.